Hello and welcome to another episode of Geared Toward Gear. My name is Sean and I am so glad you're here. Today we are talking about trauma kits yet again. And what does everything you see before you have in common? It all comes in one pre-built trauma kit and it costs about $25. And it is the Adventure Medical Kits Trauma Pack. And I really like these kits for a number of reasons. And I wanted to do a video on it specifically because there's been a number of questions that I've got in the comments and through Instagram about trauma kits. And I think this is going to appeal to a lot of people. So let's quickly go through the contents of what you get in the kit. And then I'll kind of give you my thoughts on where I think this would find its place for a lot of people who may be watching this. Now, as you know, I've done videos on my hand-built kind of larger trauma kit. I've also done a video on my wife's pre-built Save a Life kit from MedTech. I've done a video on my EDC pocket trauma kit that I built. Of course, I've talked about my EDC tourniquet. And oftentimes people just aren't interested in those things. They think they're too big, too bulky. They don't want to carry medical gear on their person. Or maybe there's a little bit of fear of using certain pieces of equipment, whether it be chest seals, tourniquets, packing wounds, things like that. And I totally get that, and I totally appreciate that. You know, if it were up to me, I would love it if everybody had one of these nearby. If it were up to me, I would love it if everybody carried some sort of medical on their body at all times. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. And I have a certain level of training and a certain level of preparedness that works for me, but that's just me. That's not everybody. So a lot of people have been asking, hey, can you recommend like 10 items that I can put into a trauma kit, you know, that's a little more straightforward. Like I don't want chest seals. I don't want a tourniquet. I just want basic stuff that's more than a boo-boo kit. And I think this product from Adventure Medical Kits kind of checks that box. And I think this, frankly, is probably more appropriate for about 95% of people than a full-blown trauma kit. Because everything in here, again, is very straightforward, very simple to use, and it's very economical. 25 bucks is what's going to get you this kit, and you can do a lot with it. So what do you get? You get a triangular bandage, also known as a cravat. You get some rolled gauze, also sometimes called curlix or cling wrap. You get some duct tape, a pair of nitrile gloves. You get 3 different size gauze pads. You get a 2x2, a 4x4, and then you also get what's called a combine pad, sometimes called an ABD pad, and those are 5x9 inches, and they're quite a bit thicker, substantially thicker than your standard gauze pads, and can absorb quite a bit of blood. You also get 6 individually packaged antiseptic wipes, and then you get a quick clot sponge. Now, this is all pretty straightforward stuff, and what's great about this is that you can actually treat quite a few injuries. You kind of be surprised. And so I think, again, for most people, this may just kind of be enough. And at 25 bucks, it's so economical that I think it might be worth checking out. And I will tell you right off the bat that I have medical stuff everywhere, but I have 2 of these in my severe weather emergency kit that's in my home. I have 2 in my vehicle, 2 in my wife's vehicle. I've also given one of these to my mother, to my father, to my brother, and to my sister-in-law, right? These are 4 people that don't have any formal medical training, and they all have one of these, right? So I've got like 4 of them kind of in my house and in my vehicles, and I've given 4 of them to family members. So I do believe in this kit, and you can do a lot with it. So what can you do? Triangular bandage. You can address sprains and strains. You can create a sling. You can even use this to pack a wound if you absolutely had to. The rolled gauze you can use simply to wrap a wound. You can use it to create a pressure dressing. Duct tape you can use to secure gauze in place. You could even use that to create a pressure dressing if you needed to. Gloves, of course, are to protect yourself. The antiseptic wipes are either to clean yourself or to clean a wound. The gauze pads, of course, are going to be just to address kind of your minor cuts and scrapes. Maybe one that's a little larger would use the 4x4. And if you have some pretty significant bleeding from, say, a nasty laceration, this 5x9 pad may be all you need. Just put that on the wound, apply a little bit of pressure with your hand, and wrap it in place. And you can wrap it in place with either the rolled gauze, the triangular bandage, or even the duct tape. Then you get the clotting sponge from Quick Clot, and this is not the kind that's folded to be packed into a wound. It's simply a sponge that you would literally put directly onto a wound. You would apply some pressure and you would wrap it in place and secure it, again, either with the triangular bandage, the rolled gauze, or the duct tape. So you can do a lot with this kit. You can even create a chest seal, and they give you instructions on how to do that in the kit by using this plastic bag and the duct tape. They also talk about how to improvise a tourniquet. So for kind of a general purpose trauma kit that's more than a boo-boo kit, I think this thing is actually pretty fantastic at 25 bucks. And where would you use this? Where would you put it? I see this as something that would be perfect in a glove box, in a roadside assistance kit, in a camping kit, if you're going hunting, fishing, any sort of adventure sports. Because here's the reality. If you are hiking, or if you are hunting, or if you are out with your family, you know, just doing an overnight camp, the chances of you being shot in the chest and needing a chest seal, pretty low, right? The chances of you suffering an arterial bleed and needing a tourniquet, probably not super high. Maybe if you're hunting, obviously there's some risks, but it's still pretty rare. But in most cases, when we're talking about just kind of being out and about with our family, especially doing any sort of adventure sports, camping, hiking, things like that, it's going to be a sprained ankle, it's going to be a cut or a scrape, maybe a severe laceration. Maybe you're preparing food at your campsite and you get a really, really bad cut on your finger or on your arm and you actually need some hemostatic agent. This will actually, I think, take care of quite a number of different injuries that are pretty common. Now, you could certainly supplement this kit, and what's great about it, as I may have mentioned, it is resealable. It's a Ziploc style, and everything, as you can see, is individually packaged, so you can just use what you need, put everything back. And if you wanted to add a small, medication kit with, some ibuprofen or some Imodium, you could certainly do that. You could always add to things, but again, as we've talked about, the more you add, before you know it, you can't fit it inside the bag. So what I would personally recommend is to just keep it the way it is, just sealed, the way it comes to you from Amazon or from Adventure Medical Kits. Put it where you think you might need it, whether that's in the trunk of your car, in your boat, whatever, and just kind of leave it there. And maybe supplement it with a smaller boo-boo kit like the one that we showed recently with Band-Aids and medications and things like that. So I just want to share this because I think, again, this is the kind of thing that more people, I think, can kind of get behind because it's stuff that's familiar. Gauze pads are familiar to a lot of people. A roll of gauze is familiar to a lot of people. All this is essentially a giant piece of gauze with some hemostatic agent in it. So none of this is like weird looking or super advanced stuff. So I think it just has that kind of familiarity for a lot of people that makes it not an intimidating kit and one that could be used by pretty much anybody in a number of different scenarios. So I do definitely recommend it. And again, at 25 bucks, I think if you're looking for something that's just pretty straightforward, that you can just toss wherever, I think this is a great option. So again, that is the trauma pack from Adventure Medical Kits. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to put those down below. I do have a couple more videos coming up. I have one on a first aid kit, which is a little less trauma oriented than this. It's kind of between the boo-boo kit and this. So, again, as we talk about levels, there's so many different levels of medical preparedness, from a micro boo-boo kit to a small boo-boo kit to a first aid kit to a small trauma kit, big trauma kit. It goes on and on. This is just kind of one of the fish in the sea, and I thought it was one worth sharing. So thank you all so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it, and and I'll talk to you soon.